You ever wonder why some people seem to get hit with setback after setback, but they just keep rising stronger than before? And then others, they get crushed by the smallest thing? Well, today we're diving into the profound teachings of Elder Michael Johnson, a Master Hebraist of biblical law. We're going to unpack his incredible preceptual framework for how Jehovah's servants are literally designed to turn every single fall into a spiritual promotion.
Okay, let's start right here with Proverbs 24:16, because this is our foundation, and it flips everything we think we know about failure on its head. For the just, falling isn't an accident. It's actually part of the process. And that number, 7, that's not random. It signifies spiritual completion. It means that what looks to you like total, complete disaster is actually a key part of a perfect divine plan.
And this right here, this is the game changer. For a servant of Jehovah, getting back up has nothing to do with your own personal grit or willpower. It's not about you trying harder. It's about activating a promise. Rising is your heritage, a covenant right that you inherit directly from your relationship with the Almighty.
So that brings us to the big question, right? If rising is our heritage, if it's our birthright, what's the key that actually unlocks it? How do we stop just falling and start turning every single fall into a strategic, divinely powered promotion? Well, let's find out.
The whole answer, it really starts with understanding our identity. So Section 1 is going to lay this crucial groundwork for us. Let's talk about resilience as a covenant heritage. So let's be absolutely clear. We are throwing out the world's definition of resilience. This has nothing to do with you just being tough. It's not something you build, it is something you inherit. It is a divine power that activates not because of who you are, but because of whose you are, a servant of Jehovah. And this isn't just a nice idea. Isaiah 54:17 puts it in writing. This isn't just a comforting verse to make you feel better. Think of it like a legal document, a covenant declaration. This promise of protection and victory is the birthright of every single servant of the Lord. Okay, so if this incredible resilience is our heritage, how do we actually access it? How do we use it in our day-to-day lives? Well, Section 2 gives us the practical how-to. Let's walk through the 3 gates of transformation. These 3 gates, focus, meaning, and action, they're not just concepts. They are the literal control panel of your spiritual life. They are the decision points that determine whether you're going to stay a victim of your circumstances or if you're going to operate as a covenant servant with real divine authority. Mastering these is everything. Let's start with the first gate, focus. This is a spiritual law, like gravity. It's always working. What you put your attention on is what you empower in your life. It is literally a form of worship. You're directing spiritual power into your experience. Think about Joseph, stuck in a pit, thrown in a prison. He could have focused on the dirt and the chains, but his focus stayed locked on Jehovah's promises. And that focus is what pulled him into his destiny. Okay, the second gate is meaning. And this is where you become a spiritual alchemist. You see, in that little space between an event happening and you reacting to it, you have the divine power to assign meaning. You get to decide, is this experience going to be a poison that weakens me, or is it going to be a medicine that makes me stronger? The choice is always yours. And just look at this contrast. It's powerful. The world, the heathen view, might see an event as persecution, but a servant with a covenant view can choose to see it as divine coaching. A door slamming shut isn't rejection, no, it's Jehovah's protection. A setback isn't a defeat, it's preparation for what's next. That's the power of seeing your reality through the lens of your covenant. And that, of course, brings us to the third gate, action. This is where your inner world becomes your outer reality. See, when your focus is locked on the promises and you've assigned a powerful covenant meaning to your circumstances, the right action, the act of physically getting up and rising, it just flows naturally. It's the physical proof of where you are spiritually.
So that's the framework, but how do we get good at this? How do we master these gates when life is crazy on a Tuesday afternoon? Section 3 moves us from the theory to the practice. Let's talk about the disciplines for daily victory.
The first discipline is all about recognizing our patterns. Did you know that over half of what we do is just habit? And maybe the most destructive spiritual habit is worry? Now look at this reframe, because this is huge. Worry is perverted prayer. Think about that. When you worry, you are using the spiritual power of detailed meditation to focus intensely on the very outcomes you don't want. You're praying for the enemy's team. So how do we break this cycle? It's a 3-step process. First, you have to recognize worry for what it is. It's spiritual adultery. You're giving your trust and attention to your circumstances instead of Jehovah's promises. Then you have to consciously interrupt that pattern. And finally, Just like Philippians 4:6 tells us, you redirect that same energy into powerful prayer and thanksgiving.
The second discipline is managing your energy state. Think of your spirit like a battery. It's absolutely critical. When you're in a low energy state, you're spiritually vulnerable. You're an easy target for doubt and defeat. But when you're in a high energy state and you channel that energy through wisdom, that's when you unlock supernatural performance and the authority to speak life into chaos.
And the key to staying in that high energy state is found right here in Isaiah 40:31. This isn't about hype or just getting yourself excited, it's about waiting on the Lord. It's about plugging into the source through practices like biblical meditation, worship, and fellowship. That's how you connect to the inexhaustible energy of Jehovah.
All right, let's pull the camera back now and look at the big picture. What is the ultimate why behind all of this? Why does Jehovah even orchestrate this whole cycle of falling and rising? Section 4 reveals the incredible prophetic purpose. It's to transform you from a spiritual casualty into a spiritual general.
See, this cycle isn't random at all. It has a very specific divine function. The fall is designed to humble us, to break our pride, to force us to depend on Jehovah alone. Then, the rise exalts us and establishes a brand new level of spiritual authority in our lives. It's just like Proverbs 18:12 says, humility has to come before honor. This is Jehovah's personal training program for character perfection.
And this is the transformation in action. A spiritual casualty is always on defense, just trying to survive, always reacting to what life throws at them. But a spiritual general, forged in this cycle of fire, learns to go on offense. They don't just react to their circumstances, they command them. They don't just win battles, they come out with spoils, ready to strengthen everyone around them. And here's the ultimate guarantee from Job 17:9. The result of mastering this whole process isn't just recovery. It's not about getting back to where you were. That's not the goal. The promise is progressive strengthening. With every single cycle, you become stronger and stronger and stronger. So we'll end with this question, just for you. This wasn't just interesting information. This is a call to action. Now that you know that every fall you face is actually a divinely engineered setup for an elevation, what are you going to do about it? How will you choose to engage those three gates, your focus, your meaning, and your action, to rise today?